This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. I'm Mark Pfeffer. My guest today is Dave Martin. He's the Global Chief Security Officer at ADP. We're going to talk about the security issues companies are concerned about, how HR should stay on top of security, and, of course, about the data in security efforts. We'll cover all that and more on this edition of People Tech. Hey, Dave, it's good to see you. So what's the state of cybersecurity right now in HR? Vendors take it seriously, but do HR departments?
So I believe we definitely get a lot of conversations from our clients that are kind of asking the right questions, kind of partly driven by privacy, and then also kind of more directly in the cybersecurity space. And then more recently, perhaps over the last year or so, bringing more resiliency conversations into that question. I think after kind of we've seen the pandemic and we've seen the rise or increase in kind of ransomware type attacks, then kind of resiliency is very top of mind for HR.
Is there a particular threat that would impact HR that nobody's really talking about that they should be?
No, I think we're covering it from kind of the full spectrum of cyber attacks. We're a converged security organization that covers the physical security space for ADP, fraud for ADP, and also cyber. So kind of we see that full spectrum of conversation around the safety angles, kind of the potential kind of opportunities for fraud. And then obviously more directly cyber-related attacks, and then kind of, as I mentioned, that resiliency component that is also really important to process and service availability, often in the wake of cyber attacks.
So how should HR stay on top of security concerns? I mean, that really means how educated do they have to be, I suppose, but they don't have IT's expertise, obviously. How deep do they need to wade in to manage things effectively?
So I think if they have it internally, obviously connecting with their internal technology and hopefully security organizations and making sure they're aware of the services that are being provided, data that's being transferred back and forth, how that's happening. So partly reaching back inside their own organization, engaging with companies like ADP. We have a lot of information around what we consider the trust of our services and kind of how we deliver those services. So we make general things available. We try and in each of the conferences, online sessions that we hold at ADP, making sure that kind of security and privacy have a voice there. So we're out there on what might be considered HR education sessions, kind of like delivering topics in terms of business resiliency, privacy, and security. So we like to do our part in making sure that our clients and prospects are educated.
Now, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. One of the things that you hear a lot about nowadays is the demand for security professionals, that there's such a need for them. From your point of view, how's the pipeline of security professionals? Are there enough coming through, people graduating from school and getting into this and, sort of working their way up?
Yeah, it's always been an issue in availability of talent over the last 20 years as this kind of very nascent space has continued to evolve. and it continues to get larger in its importance, its necessity, and then also what it takes to keep a business safe and their data confidential and their services available. So the challenge for getting the right people with the right skills continues, and I think that's also true. Security used to be a large team would only happen at the largest of companies, and that the number of security people kind of in even medium and small companies is continuing to increase. So the demand for professionals is there. I think the availability of talent is way better. They're kind of starting from even down in high school, kind of like security is now increasingly part of the conversation, if not the curriculum. There are kind of many degrees that are specific to cyber now that didn't exist even 10 years ago. And then also a lot of the technology and even business degrees either provide for minors in security or definitely include it in units as part of the curriculum. And this is great, right? Security is not something that small teams in companies should be doing. It really is a team sport. That it really does take a village to have conversations around not just the technology side, very much kind of like what are the business requirements? How do we have evolved conversations in kind of business terms around risk? We're used to talking about risk perhaps in businesses from a project execution, financial aspects, but how do we expand that conversation to include kind of the investments that we might need to make in the security and privacy space?
So I'm sorry.
Just kind of make sure I answer your question. The available talent is there, but we're also seeing the ability for security organizations to draw in talent from other areas, both emerging right out of school and then also kind of people that are kind of further on in their career, and make sure that there's access to bringing them into the organization and being able to train the pieces of security they don't have, but also leverage that important experience that they've already got.
Faith in the news media has been challenged, making it even harder to get stories told. The Friday Reporter podcast was created to help audiences better understand the media by hosting journalists who will answer the questions to which we need answers. Join me every Friday to hear more.
Well, that actually leads neatly into my next question, which is, there's such talk about upskilling and internal mobility right now, basically getting people within the existing team to move to another area and training them as necessary. Does that work in cybersecurity? Are you able to bring in people from other parts of the organization?
Yeah, very definitely, and it's a strategy that we pursue. So kind of the most obvious internal hunting ground is in the technology, our product and IT areas, but that's only part of the problem. Especially as we have this converged security organization, we need so many different skill sets and backgrounds. So we'll also look to other areas of the business because they have that innate understanding of kind of what we need to do and what needs to be there to provide for customers. They also come with different types of degrees, different kind of prior company and industry experience, and having that kind of very diverse background really helps us in thinking more broadly. If we just have kind of a single set of background, a single set of skill sets, often skewed to technology, that means we kind of will always reach to that same muscle that we know very well to try and solve problems. But technology is not always the solution. Sometimes we can make changes to process. Sometimes just having a kind of an effective communication with the business can change how they're delivering a solution and actually kind of remove the need for a kind of a technology solution, which often can be quite clumsy and have other impacts. When I'm looking out to kind of bring people in from the outside or elsewhere within ADP that don't have 5 years, 3 years, 10 years of security experience, we're looking for what I would consider a sense of mission, that passion to really understand knowledge, curiosity, be self-learning. They'll challenge data and really have that passion. I really want to understand and get to the true root cause. What caused this thing? Not just assume, oh, maybe that thing's always been that way. No, we really want to understand what's different in detail, but then leverage that, again, the diverse set of business knowledge they may have. They may have skills in process data and analytics, people skills, education and influence. All of these can come together. We can kind of give them more context and teach them additional specific elements around security, both with on-the-job training that we have, some training modules we've developed, and then also there's a lot of great information out on the market as well.
So why are people skills so important in something like security?
So sometimes you can look at our role as kind of influence and kind of behavior modification. We're trying to appeal to people to do what we see as the right thing, make sure they understand how to do that right thing, and appeal to them in terms of, if I come back specific to ADP, we have this kind of integrity is everything at our core, want and willingness to support and go the extra mile to support our clients. How do I appeal to those? So having people with those people skills that really understand, how do we explain why we're asking them to do perhaps a specific extra step in those terms that they kind of live and breathe every day? That makes it more likely that they're not going to see it as an extra tax, an extra step that is slowing them down in supporting that client, but they're now doing it for a purpose. They realize they're keeping that client safe or their client's data safe.
So if you look ahead, let's say 5 or 10 years, what trends are you seeing right now that people in cybersecurity or possibly looking to get into the field, what are the things that they should be aware of and preparing for?
So I think more of the same, which is the really simple answer, but it's the amount of data that we're processing and need to analyze is going to increase. So really understanding kind of data skills, data analysis skills. More and more of what we do has to be embedded in workflows, whether that be business process or in technology. So even things like basic automation skills, you don't have to be a full stack developer, but really understanding how to set some business requirements to be able to pass to a development community in basic automation skills. Regulatory requirements are going to continue to evolve, perhaps exponentially. So, and at the same time, technology and business needs. So that one thing I come back to, that the thirst for knowledge. I can promise anyone that enters this field, every day is going to be different. Tomorrow, kind of next quarter, next year, 5 years, 10 years, this is going to continue to evolve, and being very agile, very free thinking about what we need to do, and being willing to do some research, being willing to go engage with other people outside of the field to think about different ways that we solve this really challenging problem.
Now, let me ask the same question, but in the context of HR. Are people in HR or talent acquisition, are there certain things they should be thinking about for that sort of longer term, things that they should be on the lookout for or concerned about?
I think it's really staying informed. This changes so fast. You may think, oh, I took a 1 hour class 2 years ago. This really changes radically, whether, as I say, the risk and understanding about how we affect change in risk, the business environment, the privacy pressures that are on, and also just the sense of the possible. What should they be asking their providers? So it's definitely something that you can't do every other year. You want to try and find some continuing education resource that kind of plugs you into this area of the HR field, at least on an annual basis. So you're prepared to ask the right questions and in some cases understand the responses.
Looking at security people again, as opposed to HR, what particular areas of knowledge and skills do you think people are going to need in cybersecurity in the future?
I think that I've talked about that requirement to understand and be able to communicate with the business. I think that may be optional in some parts of the field right now, but it's going to become absolutely critical across it. Particularly as you kind of rise in leadership roles, that ability to understand the business, communicate very technical things in kind of business speak, and in kind of a simple risk understanding is definitely going to be critical. The evolution of technology with so many different fields, like the field of cryptography, which is grounded in mathematics, that's evolving very rapidly now. And as we think about quantum computing and how that's going to change that field, every aspect of kind of what we do is continuously evolving, but some are going to see very radical shifts. So maintaining a broad set, if you're a risk practitioner, technology expert, you can't just chase your own domain and how that's evolving. You've got to kind of look to the other areas of such a broad profession.
And the last question is, again, thinking about people that would come into security from another area. Do you think people who have the core of their experience outside of cybersecurity are more successful than people who mainly stick with the same career track, or do you think it varies, or do you think you really need to be a security specialist from the get-go?
You certainly don't need to be a security specialist from the get-go in any of the domains. And in the most very technical areas, it certainly helps to have technical aptitude. But I think to your kind of other point of creating that kind of more broad visibility instead of just staying very narrow and in a siloed channel, you'll always be a better practitioner. You'll always be able to see different solutions to a problem with the broader exposure that you have. That may mean different kind of the physical security domain, the fraud security domain, and other areas. It also can take you out into the business, into consulting roles. Anytime when we talk about kind of that diverse experience set, the more diverse your experience set, the more diverse experience set that the team has will make them overall a better team and better individual practitioners.
Dave, thanks very much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed the conversation.
My guest today has been Dave Martin, Global Chief Security Officer for ADP. And this has been People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. We're a publication of Recruiting Daily. We're also a part of Evergreen Podcasts. To see all of their programs, visit www.evergreenpodcasts.com. And to keep up with HR technology, visit the HCM Technology Report every day. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.hcmtechnologyreport.com. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show.
Dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We out.
Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion, whether you're 25, 85, or any age in between. Gain actionable financial and mindset tips from your favorite authors, podcasters, and influencers to help you reach that exciting next chapter. Listen now and start building your path to financial freedom and reframing what retirement can mean to you. This is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.